Okay, well, let's kick this off, and we're going to do some intros, and we're going to do some spotlights, and we're going to tell you about everyone that's on this call, so everybody gets to know everybody. You guys, this is going to be super casual and informal, so please don't think that this is like you have to just sit and listen. I want to make it interactive, and I want to tell you who's in the blue room. You're making this like, it's so funny. You look so important with the name Blue Room, Debbie.
Well, I know. I'm so sorry.
No, God, don't be sorry. I think it's so.
Yeah, I don't know how to change the name of this room on Zoom, so I apologize for that.
No worries. So why don't I just kick it off really quick by telling you how this whole series came about, give you a little bit of a backstory. Those of you who signed up got a little bit of an inkling as to how this morphed, but it is a very, I'll use the word vulnerable situation to particularly go onto LinkedIn and put your green banner on that says open to work. No matter the circumstances, whether it was your choice or not, I think there's a mental impact that happens that I don't think is talked about enough. And so when I became open to work, it was actually thankfully around a holiday, and we were in the middle of a move. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take a couple weeks, regroup, enjoy. It was summer. I'm like, I'm going to enjoy some time, pack up for the move, like do the whole thing. So the timing actually, if it's ever good, this actually worked out where it felt good. And then what I sat with was, for those that don't know, I created a mentor matchmaking group within the multifamily industry, and it felt natural to help others, to want to connect others, and to match people with opportunity. And so I thought, well, let me just create a space that is going to feel more like a community where we can all help each other. Nobody can, no one will feel alone. And in return, I put together a presentation for everybody to spotlight themselves, and then take the Zoom link when it works as a way to create a clip, so that if Kelsey's talking about, for 3 minutes about what she's looking for in her next opportunity, she can take a piece of that and use that as a creative approach to maybe the next hiring manager that she's trying to get into through LinkedIn, whatever that is. So I did one, and we had a great turnout, and then everyone's like, okay, well, when's the next one? Well, that morphed into, let me do a handful of these. Well, then when I was lucky enough to land at MSB, people were reaching out and they're like, so are you still going to do these spotlight calls? And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Let's continue. And so what I'm finding is there's a need, not just for, hey, let me try and find a job, but what I'm sensing, and I don't know if you guys agree with this, is there's a lot of what I'm seeing on LinkedIn is a need for community and support for people who are going through open to work. And maybe someone hasn't been open to work for some time, and so they need a refresh on resources, how to maybe just even start with their LinkedIn, how to just be brave enough to put on the open to work banner is something. So that's the purpose of this call. And what I've done is I've found some amazing guests like Debbie Rae Peters here, and who have become friends, who are trusted leaders in the multifamily space, and just ask them, because no one wants to hear me talk the whole time, to just be on this call as a way to support and help from her level, see what she's seeing and some tips and tricks. And then we want to hear from everybody that's on this call about their journey. So we're going to guide this, just kind of going through introducing the lovely Debbie Rae Peters. And what I asked her to do was come up with 3 words that she would use to describe herself. And I love this. And no, if you guys don't know her, like, I'm so glad you picked the word sunshine. She is like a ray of sunshine when she walks into a room, even virtually. What I love about her is, despite how long she's been in the industry, and I'll let you tell your story, she's so approachable and willing to help, and very team oriented, whether you work at Rose Associates with her or not. And I've seen her in the spirit of mentorship, and that is something that her mentees can really kind of underscore. So she gets to be the first guest, which I'm so thankful that you're doing this. And then after we hear from Debbie Rae and her intro, I'll introduce my counterparts here at MSB, and then we'll get into our candidate spotlights. But I would love for you to tell the group just a little bit about you personally and professionally, just about how you got to be so sunshiny.
Tara, I love this, and I am so honored that you've asked me to be a guest, because, I think it's really hard, in this industry. We get so caught up in, what we're doing, that we forget that, we're working with people, and we're working, and we interact with each other every day, more with our colleagues than we do our family. And I'll start by, talking about sunshine. And it's, really funny. I think, when I was young, my brother actually started it. He's like, Debbie Rae Sunshine Peters. And he would just say that because I was always giggling or smiling or doing something. And I was just always genuinely a happy kid. And, it's interesting, my dad was always, a happy and uplifting person as well. So, I could call him with anything, and he would be like, well, here's how I think you should look at it. And I think this is a great opportunity. And he was always so positive, about whatever was going on in my life. I do love smiley faces. So whenever anyone sees me, I I'm wearing a couple smiley face necklaces. I've got my earrings on. It's kind of like my brand. And I'm always, I do believe that, you are a walking brand. I know I'm in marketing, and a brand is more than, just your logo, or it's all about how you make others feel and how people connect with you. And I truly believe in that. So I'm always wearing like bright colors. And, it's not because, I want to be seen. It's because I like bright colors. I like going outside of the norm, and kind of standing out. But also, as you mentioned, Tara, being approachable. I love meeting people. I love nurturing those connections that I have. I don't want to just meet people just to meet them. I want to truly have that connection and stay in contact, with the people that I meet and the people that I work with. And I have stayed in contact, obviously with people from, elementary school, and still talk to them to this day, but also, people that I've worked with. I've been in the industry for 30 plus years. And I started out leasing apartments for my mom. And she, I always say I've learned from the best in the industry, because my mom was so good at leasing apartments. And she, she moved us from, Daytona Beach, Florida, up to North Providence, Rhode Island, which was a huge culture shock, never being out of Florida, and primarily never being out of Daytona. So we moved up to North Providence, and it was interesting, just the culture shock of, we were used to, t-shirts and shorts and, bathing suits, being on the beach, to move to Rhode Island, where everybody was wearing all black and, had very strong accents. And we were, we had our Southern accents, and, so it was different. We just, we worked our way into the hearts of those in Rhode Island. And, so I started leasing apartments, with my mom part-time, while I was going to college. And she instilled in me, it's not just leasing an apartment. It could be a positive experience, or it can be a negative experience. It's all about how you treat that person when they come into the office, and how you treat them on the tour, and then throughout their lease term. And that has stayed with me, not only in my career as far as leasing apartments, but also with my team members, with clients that I work with. And I I love it. And I love leasing apartments. I will still lease it to this day. I will walk onto a property and start answering phones, start asking residents how their apartment is. And I love it. And and I don't know that there is a lot of that when people from the corporate office walk onto sites. But I love it. I love to find out how my site team's doing and if there's anything that I can do to support them. But yes, I started in leasing apartments and worked my way through operations. I've bounced back and forth between operations and on a support role, whether it was marketing or training, and have truly found my niche where I am in marketing, supporting our site teams, supporting our clients, but also with an operational background. So yeah, and I've been with Rose Associates for it'll be 3 years in January, and time flies when you're having fun, and I love it.
It's a great story. And isn't Florida the Sunshine State?
It is the Sunshine State.
Does that just kind of like all kind of come full circle? I absolutely love that.
Yes.
We had a couple people that were signed up for today that fell ill, so we're gonna have which is actually sorry for them, but like we'll have a little bit more time, I think, to have more open discussions. So I can't wait once we get through introductions to kind of dig into your past a little bit. I've got a couple of questions that I have teed up, and I'm sure the folks on this call will probably want to tap into your brain. But thank you for sharing like the full evolution.
And as part of, I've been so fortunate that I have been all over the country, working. I've had very large portfolios. I've been, I was a troubleshooter, so I would go once I started leasing up different properties, and then turned into a troubleshooter and could go to a property for a minimum of 3 weeks, maximum of 6 months, figuring out, if is it product, price, promotion, people, and just kind of work with that site team and fix, and I was called a fixer. So, yeah, just a little additional color on what I've done.
I love that. I'm going to write down the fixer. That's something I didn't know about you, but it actually just makes perfect sense. I would love to introduce you to my team. So we've got a nice slide with everybody's beautiful headshots. And if you are reading this, you'll see my little joke at the bottom of mine. I've literally been at MSB about 10 minutes, but I have walked into an organization that, and for anyone that has met Brad, our founder, he is truly someone who epitomizes what it means to create a great culture. Our tagline is, "I love my job, do you?" So there's so many reasons why I'm here. But Evan, I'll let you kick it off because he has been here quite a long time. So Evan, will you introduce yourself and then give everyone kind of just a quick overview of what MSB does?
For sure. It's like the opposite of 10 minutes. It feels like 10,000 years. So for sure. So, hey, everyone, I'm Evan. MSB is a national firm that really is specific to multifamily and focuses on what companies' most important assets are, really people. We work in a lot of different ways, but we provide consulting services in how companies hire people. We provide direct hire recruitment services. We provide a myriad of different consultative services around helping people or helping companies with their strategies around retention, building a better culture, really things that focus on the recruitment and retention and really keeping people happy and engaged in the organization. And I am the VP of recruitment. Again, been with the company for almost 18 years. And I would say I do a little bit of everything in the company, but primarily kind of lead the recruitment team and efforts in the organization.
Do you have a tip that you can share with the group that might have been something that works really well for you, or that you're kind of hearing around the marketplace that people who are open to work can kind of take away?
Absolutely. I would say my number one favorite tip, especially for anybody that's putting themselves out there and working through their resume, is to not have a one size fits all approach to your resume. I think this is like the number one tip that I offer to people. And you should be regularly looking at your resume and revising your resume and really looking at what job you're applying to and how that stands out on your resume. I often say that the resume's only goal is to get your foot in the door, and it's natural for people to look at your resume and judge you. So really have an idea about what you want to get out of that particular job search or sending your resume to that particular person for that particular job, not just having one resume that hopefully will, cater to all parts of your job. So have some fun with it. Look at a job description, understand which company you're applying to, which job you're applying to, and make sure that the stuff that are relevant to that job and that company really sing.
And that's something that is a timeless piece of advice, I must say, because I remember hearing that just when I first started in the workforce, and I don't think it's ever going to get old. So thank you for sharing that. Kelsey, which I got to learn. So Kelsey's here in Atlanta with me, and I got to learn a side of her competitiveness, which I love on the pickleball court. But Kelsey, let everybody know who you are.
Yeah, so I'm Kelsey. I am a pretty competitive, passionate person. I think that's pretty evident when it comes to sports work. I want to see people succeed. And so like when I can help people, that just makes me feel the best at the end of the day. I have been with MSB. I'm at 9 years. Next year will be 10 years. I feel very similar to Evan, where I'm like, it doesn't feel like 10 minutes. It feels about like half my lifetime, but in the most positive way possible. I've enjoyed every bit of my time here. I've enjoyed getting into the industry. I did not have multifamily experience or I kind of knew it was out there, right? You're in college, you have your friends that do leasing, but I didn't realize it was like this career until I stalked Brad to get a job, essentially, until he agreed to talk to me. But I would say my number one advice typically is what Evan also just mentioned about tailoring your resume. But then my number one thing is to don't turn down an opportunity for a conversation, because even if ultimately it maybe isn't the right opportunity for you, you could leave an impression on that person that you speak with, who then, could be brainstorming, could know of someone who knows of someone. Also too, we see so many times where a company has an idea of what they're looking for, but when they're having conversations with potential candidates, that could change because they can bring a different perspective that oftentimes they're like, oh man, we didn't think of that. Maybe that is the direction that we should go. So I'm always saying, don't be closed off to the conversations. Talk to anyone and everyone. The more conversations that you have, I think the closer you get to finding that fit for you long term.
I agree with that so much. And what it made me think of too is like, let's say Rose Associates is hiring and they have an idea of what they think they want, but then Kelsey, you might be like, you know what, why don't you have a conversation with somebody who meets most, but I think this might win you over, and let's be a little bit more open-minded. So I think it goes both ways for sure.
Yes, 100%. Absolutely.
Great tip. Well, let's get in. Oh, actually, before we get into our candidate spotlights, Debbie, I forgot to ask you for your tip. If you have one for candidates.
I'm sorry, Tara, what was that?
Do you have a tip that you want to share? That's just kind of like a timeless piece of advice for people?
You know what? I think my tip would be, stand out. Use video, as a follow-up tool or as a tool to contact the hiring manager, because I think, in such a tech world, having that personalization and having that face to put with a name is so important. I love using video. I'm not sure that, some of my site teams appreciate me doing it so much, but, I think anything that can help you stand out and show your creativity and your authenticity and your genuineness is always a great way to go.
I love that. And you guys know how passionate I am about video as well. So it just absolutely makes sense. But to your point, it's such a tech world. Why not use some of the technology to stand out as a candidate? I know I emailed the folks on here about an order that we were going to go in, but since some folks couldn't make it, Nicole, are you okay to go first?
Sure, let's do
Okay.
this.
I have you a little name badge.
Oh, thanks.
But then also, I took your answers to the questions, which I absolutely love, and I've made everybody a slide. You don't have to speak to this specifically unless you want to, but
Awesome.
I would love to give you a few minutes to just really highlight what we should know about you, maybe a little bit of your past experience, and then what you're looking for in your next role. So it's really just kind of use this time however you want.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for that introduction, Tara. And thank you for this opportunity. As everyone has said on this call so far, so many individuals are looking for a new role, and this is such a unique forum to connect and to do so. So like you said, I'm Nicole Cermak. I'm a leader specializing in building high performance teams, operational excellence, and project management. I've been working within the multifamily industry for the past 10 years. I started off with a little company called Lease Labs. They were a digital marketing agency specializing in websites and SEO for apartment communities. And then after they were acquired by RealPage, I worked with RealPage for a number of years within their delivery organization. I've managed and worked with all sorts of diverse teams, from project managers, product managers, designers, developers, engineers, as well as implementation teams and global and fractional teams. I have my PMP certification, which stands for Project Management Professional, and my CSM certification, which is a Certified Scrum Master. I bring significant value to SaaS or prop tech organizations navigating growth, transformation, or seeking to enhance project delivery. I drive both immediate results and long-term improvements, which make me an ideal fit for senior roles focused on strategy, operations, and transformation. And last, my leadership philosophy all comes from Brené Brown, and my favorite quote from her is, "Clear is kind." Thank you so much.
Love that. And can I just say that the PMP certification that you have, when I saw that you had that, I'm on the supplier council with NAA, and we're actually looking for someone with that certification for a possible session for next year's Apartmentalize.
Awesome.
So if you're interested, we're putting together a speaker panel and the submissions are open now. Have you ever spoken at a conference before?
I have not. That terrifies me, but I'm in this moment of my life where I'm just like leaning into the uncomfortableness and putting myself out there and going for things that I never thought I would do before.
That's a very Brené Brown thing to do.
Right?
I don't know what her, I'm sure everyone on this call has seen her TED Talk. It's so good. I'm actually re-listening to Daring Greatly. Because I feel like no matter what stage we're in, we can all use a little refresh on being vulnerable and pushing out of our comfort zone, which is like what this call is about, right?
Yep.
I love it. So would you like me to make an introduction on the PMP potential for that?
I'll have to think
Or
about that.
Okay,
but
let me know.
Thank you.
You let me know. I appreciate that. And would you happen to have a tip or something that you kind of learned throughout your open to work journey, or even previously, that you want to share?
I think it's really leaning into connections. So I've been trying to use this opportunity to reconnect with old coworkers. So much of us have scattered the winds, that I've been in multifamily over the last 10 years. So it's been fun reconnecting. And then just like I said earlier, leaning into the uncomfortableness, reaching out to people you haven't talked to in a while, and in of itself, can be a little intimidating. And just trying to, stay positive, think of it as a marathon, and try and find connection and purpose outside of just the job search, to keep your spirits up.
Love that. That's a really good one. Thank you. I think
Yeah.
Veronica's next. Yeah,
Thanks.
your little name badge.
Hi.
Hi, Veronica.
Well, I am Veronica Shults, and I have been in property management for 30 years, a little over, and a regional manager for 18, and also a director. I started my journey actually by accident. A friend recommended that I go to a job fair, and I ended up meeting the president of the company. And I was looking for a leasing, I thought, well, I could do leasing. And he actually put me right in as a manager on a 63 unit community that was a little before its time. It was a mid-rise with underground parking and a rooftop pool. And I did everything from janitorial, cleaning the elevators, the laundry rooms, picking up trash, and plunging toilets. But it was a great experience. And I fell in love with the industry at that point. I am also a very, I build high performing teams. And the way I do that is by genuinely taking note of everything and everybody on the team and getting with them. Everybody's motivated by something different. That's the first thing I find out is what motivates that person. And once I find that out, I establish a relationship with them. And I really feel like a lot of it, a lot of people are new to their roles, whether it's an assistant or a manager, and you have to mentor them. That's what it's all about, is teaching them the knowledge that you have and teaching them how to go the extra mile, what to look at, how to look at a budget and know that if, they're going to go over $1,000, help them find the mindset of how can I make that up? What am I going to do to make that up so we still hit our bottom line? And teaching them why rent growth is so important. I'll never forget, I had a manager, and I audited her community right after I started, and she had waived $60,000 in late fees and reletting fees, etc., over the course of a year. And then, instead of going, oh my gosh, this is terrible, I approached her and I'm like, Amber, why did you do that? And she said, well, I was trying to be nice to the resident and keep the resident happy. And I taught her how important it was to make sure the company did collect that money and what she could do to make the residents still feel okay when they walk out of their office. So that's part of putting the teams together. I'm very driven and I'm also very kind. I feel like if you don't motivate your teams and make them happy every day, then they're not going to perform. And so I try to find cool ways to do that, whether it's just a handwritten card when they've done something, or sending them a gift card or Tiff's treats or candy or whatever it may be. And that goes for everybody. We've got to appreciate our maintenance teams and our office teams. So that's one of the things as a leader that I try to do. One of my specialties, as far as I go, is I am really good at seeing the whole picture and where we need to be, whether it's income related, expense related. I kind of look at it as a puzzle, and we got to put all the pieces together. And then public speaking is something I need to work on. But yeah, so that's pretty much my history. Besides my start in property management, I have worked with some great development teams on new lease ups. I was part of Vitruvian Park in Addison, Texas, which was $1 billion lease up. We bought 9 dilapidated communities to tear down and build. And I was part of that whole experience. And the 5 communities that were left standing that we were going to have to manage for a while, they told me not to worry about it. They were not going to cash flow. And I said, no, we are going to cash flow. And it took 2 years of hard work because these were in pretty bad shape. But we got the right resident profile in there and cleaned them up, and they took them mature. I was working for a REIT at the time who I was with for 17 years. And so I've got that REIT mentality, and we were able to be part of the reporting numbers for the Dallas area. And I also worked with a great development team at Lind, Mike Lind in particularly, and his team, and did the lease up on his prime 33-story high rise in downtown Austin, the Bowie. And that was some fun.
Experience.
Yeah, that was really good. And I've done everything from D assets that you want to make sure you're safe when you get out of your car to A+. But I would say my forte is A and B. And I love lease up. I've done a lot of lease up.
Well, thank you for a thorough rundown. It sounds like you're very well-rounded with a lot of experience. And I want to get to Sudha. She's actually, Kelsey, she's in our backyard too. She's in the Atlanta area. And I actually got a chance to meet her at a happy hour that we had. Was that at Lazy Dog? Or no, it was at Firebirds maybe.
Yeah, Firebird.
Yeah, so I had the chance of meeting her already, and she's a delight. So your turn.
Yeah. So I'm going to try to match up to the wonderful stuff that everybody had to say. But to start off with, I have 10 years of experience, which seems so little as compared to so many of you. But I have 10 years of experience in real estate, in prop tech. And that experience comes from software development. I've been on the technology side of prop tech. I've worked with, I started off with Apartment Finder, which is a company based off here in Atlanta. I joined them in 2014. And a year after I joined them, they got acquired by CoStar. And so with that, then I started working for apartments.com. Again, apartments.com is the marketplace and we have our customers and we have our consumers, we have our property managers, property owners, PMCs, and then we also have our renters. So in my 8 years at CoStar, I've worked on building many B2B and B2C facing products. The main one that I always like to mention is their property management suite of tools. That was a project that we had undertaken towards 2018, 2019, where we built the ability for the renters to submit an application, sign a lease, pay rent on the platform. And I was one of the product managers who was responsible for building those suite of tools. And 2 years after we launched those tools to the market, we made a revenue of 22 million just from these property management tools. Of course, apartments.com marketplace had its own revenue, but this was just that new tiny baby product that we had launched 2 years ago, which made that sort of a revenue. And I was one of the product people there. So it was personally a very, very proud moment for me. And in building these products from scratch, when you say 0 to 1, that truly was this. Like we started off from the whiteboard, drawing board, like how our application dashboard should look, what the different statuses should be, how would the property manager see it, how would the renter see it, like just brainstorming all of that to, taking it to a place where now users are actually using it to fill out an application, run their credit, criminal, and eviction reports, sign a lease, pay rent, all of those things. It's a moment of pride. I have nothing else to say except that. And that's what I like more about product management in itself, like understanding what your users want. Where are they having a need, or where are they facing any sort of a problem? And then brainstorming with the teams that we work with. It could be the research team, the design team, the engineering team, marketing, sales, legal, data science, right? Like these different teams that we partner with, working with them to build that product, take it to market, see it perform, and at places maybe it doesn't perform as well. And so then now you have to figure out, okay, where have we missed the mark? How do we bridge that gap? How do we grow our product? How do we get that revenue? So yeah, that's my expertise. That's my experience as a product manager. So like I said, I was with apartments.com for 8 years. And then after that, I moved to Hapico, which is a little bit of a change in pace when it comes to real estate. They're more of a B2B, SaaS product offering. Same in the real estate space. I worked with them for a few months, and since the beginning of this year, I've been looking for my next opportunity. And during one of my networking events is when I got to meet Tara too. If I was to say, based on just my time looking for my next opportunity, if I was to say maybe one or two things that I feel I have done to increase my visibility, it's one, update your LinkedIn. That's your image. If it's a recruiter, if it's a hiring manager, whoever it is, your LinkedIn speaks a lot about you. So, use that headline section, use the top banner image, use your about section, like make that tell a story about you. Get those recommendations. You've worked at a company, you've done amazing at a company, like reach out to your network, the people you worked with, get that recommendation from them. And then the second thing, which is almost like a part B to it, is that you have that certification, that section on LinkedIn. Like take certifications, keep yourself up to speed. Like it's surprising how much information is out there for free. Like I can talk for product management. There's a ton of AI certifications right now that I've taken through Coursera and other sources. So like keep yourself up to date, so that when time comes for you to use that, when you get that job, like you're not playing catch up. You at least know what to lean on. So those would be my two pieces of advice if you're actively looking.
Those are really great pieces of advice. And that's a great segue, because obviously we've got Debbie Rae on this call for some advice and just kind of leveraging her knowledge, which I'm really excited about. I'll stop screen sharing for this just because we can have a little bit more of an open dialogue. But you kind of touched on one of my first questions when you talked about video, but I don't know if you want to add to it. In the world of AI, and I posted about this the other day on LinkedIn, is there anything that you can think of that's like a little bit more human that candidates can do to stand out and make a lasting impression? Other than, like, video is such a great one. Is there anything else that you want to add to that?
I do. I think, obviously my number one is video, but also, picking up the phone and calling. I think so many times we forget that voice to voice contact as well. And, whether it's, following up after a leasing tour or following up after an interview. It's so nice to actually get a phone call, because once you connect with that person, email, some of the tech ways to connect with people are so cold. I think, the warm, the making it memorable, it's almost like having that sixth sense of being able to make that connection memorable and sticky.
I love that. And I love that you use the word sticky, because that's going to come into play very shortly. It's almost like you read my mind. So when we think about interviewing, because obviously our team at MSB, we're acting as coaches often to help prepare for interviews. Is there, in your experience, I'm sure you've interviewed so many people in your time, is there a mistake that you see that's kind of on repeat that we should know about that candidates can hopefully avoid?
I think always being prepared for the interview. I think understanding, doing research on the company, doing research on the person that will be interviewing you, I think is also key. Because, having someone come in and say, hey, Debbie, I understand you used to work for Beam Living. Tell me a little bit about that, because I found it so cool that, you worked at Stuytown or whatever the case may be. And I'm like, whoa, that's amazing. Like, you actually, you did some research. And I love that, asking any kind of questions like that that make that connection. Again, I'm big on connections. I'm big on, making it memorable, and just going that, paying attention to detail. I think it goes really far.
Absolutely. I love that. And I guess I just thought of this now, just thinking of, is there something that like maybe, no, I'm going to scratch that. Never mind. I was going to go another direction, but I'm just going to not do that. So, one of the next questions I had is about, so obviously you've talked about how you're a connector, you're a fixer, you like to obviously make sure people are smiling, have a good attitude. What's a conventional skill, like an unconventional skill or trait that's helped you succeed that maybe candidates could kind of take from your shoes?
Unconventional. I think, any time you show empathy, I think is unconventional, because it's shown as a weakness, or it's, people talk about it as being a weakness, and it's really not. I think being able to truly care about that person. For example, I had someone that I was going to interview, and this was a few years ago, and they ended up emailing me saying that, they injured, their foot, and they had to go to get some x-rays. And I'm like, hey, no problem. I hope everything is okay. Would love to reschedule, and not brushing it off, not ghosting, not thinking, not assuming that they're just blowing you off. I think that, I think now with so many issues with people connecting and people showing up for interviews, I think showing true empathy, showing you care, goes a really long way. Is that intangible?
It's so true, because life happens, right? And like
Sure
the
does.
funniest, as some folks at MSB have heard this story, but the funniest thing is like during one of my first calls with Brad, I bought like that day before, I bought this brand new white comforter, and I scoured to go find the perfect one. And literally at the start of our video call, my dog starts throwing up on the
Oh no.
comforter as I'm like starting. And I was like, and he looks at me, he's like, are you okay? And I was like, so like what I remembered is like, okay, I'm human, he's human. We all have like stuff that happens, whether you're running late, you don't feel good, like whatever it is. And he was like, do you need to reschedule? And I was like, nope, because this is going to be a fun story to tell if we end up working together, because he had empathy and like just didn't make me feel weird or awkward, or like, I think you, in the day of Zoom, especially, you have to realize that like things go on.
Yeah, exactly. It
you
really
know,
does.
Yeah, like it's something that I think we all need to remind ourselves of. So I'm glad that you mentioned that.
Yeah,
Um,
from a personal experience, that I've had when I was interviewing for a role, again, many, many years ago, I had gone through the interview process, had, flown across the country, to meet in person, got home, and my dog ended up getting sick. And then unfortunately, he passed away. And I was devastated, like absolutely devastated. And the hiring manager called, and he's like, hey, we really want to offer you the job. And I just started crying. I couldn't hold back. I told him what was going on. And he's like, don't you worry. We've all gone through this. You know, we missed our, there's been pets that have passed away, and we completely understand what you're going through. Please take all the time you need. We're going to wait for you. And you just reach out when you're ready. And that meant the world to me. It meant, it really showed they care about the people that work for them. And yeah, a week later, I called them and I said, hey, I'm doing better and I'm ready to come on board. Thank you so much for your patience. And they were just a phenomenal company to work for.
And it's almost like you're glad when some of those hiccups happen or like whatever, because then you get to see another side of somebody that you may not have seen for a while.
Exactly.
Right?
Yep, exactly.
I love it. It just makes us human, right?
It does. It does. And I think sometimes we forget, like, we're people. Like, we need to be transparent. We need to be honest. We need to be, we need to care for one another.
Yeah.
There's so much hate going on out there. Like, we really need to care for each other.
Gotta be kind. We have to be kind. Thinking of the multifamily industry specifically, since everyone on this call is from the industry, is there, like, beyond traditional metrics, is there anything that you can like say would define success beyond the traditional metrics, and like what would that look like to you?
Right? I know everybody looks at numbers, everybody looks at, everything they've been able to accomplish. I believe that the success of my team guides my success. And I say that because, at a previous company, worked really closely, with my team. We got through COVID, and Veronica, like you mentioned earlier, doing the little things and showing your teams that you care. So I used to send them cupcake making kits. When we were all working at home, I sent them bottles of champagne for New Year's Eve, and I gave them and I also sent them like this empty jar with this little square notepad, and a really fun pen to write with. And I said, listen, every week I want you to write down 3 wins that you've had that week, fold it up, put it in the jar. At the end of the year on New Year's Eve, I want you to open it. I want you to read through all of the greatness that you've had this year. And then I want you to start over and set your mind that you are going to be even more successful for the following year. So one, and I tell that because I just love doing things like that for my teams. But, when I had somebody who I just worked so closely with come to me and he goes, I've got to give my notice. And I went, okay. I took a moment. I was like, I almost had a heart attack, but, and, he's like, I'm going to go run my own marketing team. I gave him the biggest hug. I'm like, that is all I ever want, is for my team members to go. And if they can't, sit in my seat, then go and run their own department. Like, be a true leader that I know that you could be. And I just think for me, I just feel like that makes me successful.
It's amazing, just the empowerment that obviously you instilled as a leader to have them take those skills and grow. And I mean, that's such an honor to you and a testament to your leadership. I love that. We have 5 minutes left because I spent 5 minutes with Zoom issues. But what I want to touch on is, you mentioned sticky before in terms of like retention, and it's the retention word is something that obviously our industry talks a lot about, whether it's employees or residents, whatever that means. And one of the benefits that MSB has that makes us different that I wanted to point out, I'm going to share my screen for just one more second, and then it's going to tie into, I kept the answers anonymous to a question that everyone had answered. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So I saw the statistic, which is so alarming. It's not even funny that 16% of people turnover within the first week of hire. And that is staggering to me. And so one of our, we're not just your regular firm. We have partnered with, for many, many, many years, Dr. David Wyman, who, for lack of to keep it just neutral, he can basically do an autopsy of culture and figure out maybe some blind spots and ways that companies can prevent turnover from happening. And I think it's ironic because we're a firm that likes to place people into new roles, but we also are making sure that we help you see and assess things that maybe employees won't share confidentially internally, but they're willing to kind of talk to us outside. So that's part of our workplace solutions division. And so what I wanted to ask folks as they were joining this call, so I kept these confidential. I wanted to know what companies could do better to make their organizations more sticky. And these are the responses that we received. But Debbie, I would love to just kind of hear from you. As you see these, I'm sure we all agree that these are really great responses.
Yeah.
What are you seeing and like what's something that either at Rose or in your previous career, previous jobs that you've seen that works really well to make a sticky organization?
You know, it's interesting. We were just talking about this. We had a town hall this morning, and we were talking about, our employee feedback and our employee survey that we just had. One of the things that I've been fortunate enough to work with a really talented team of people is our, DEIB and belonging, with the company, and creating and help support and create employee resource groups within the organization that people where they feel connected, which has lifted the culture and has connected people that had not been connected to each other in years, and has created that and fostered a culture of inclusivity that I think has created that stickiness where people are like, yes, I'm coming to that next event. I can't wait to meet this person. I can't wait to see this person. And I think it's definitely creating, that and fostering that environment where people can be themselves, they can connect, they can be transparent and be who they want to be. We hire, our team members to come in and do a job. We're all adults. We all know what we're doing. And I think if we also give them, the resources where they can, learn more. For example, the Women's Initiative that I have been fortunate enough to co-found, we have speakers that, I've had, that have come in and speak about, imposter syndrome and setting, the women in the organization up to build their confidence, or a dietitian. And I think it's utilizing those resources where it's either personal or professional that just help them grow and they can't get anywhere else.
I absolutely love that. And it's no matter what time we are in with like the virtual world, I'm hearing, we were on a call last night and people were talking about how much they're craving that connection. Everyone's hardwired for connection. And obviously when you're trying to find like-minded things to connect on, whether it's an employee resource group or just even a hobby, it's important to know that you're not alone, which is kind of why we're creating this call. Is we know that it's challenging to find your next opportunity and we want you to not feel alone.
Right.
I love that. And it sounds like overall, just I always feel the sense like when you're talking and storytelling, I feel that empowerment that you're trying to put in others, which is fantastic. And that I think is a good takeaway for any organization, to have their people feel more empowered.
Absolutely.
Can create some stickiness there. In closing, we are at the top of the hour. I can stay on for a couple minutes. I don't know everyone else's schedule, but does anyone have anything for Debbie Rae, since we've, thank you, by the way, for your time. I know you had a really, really busy day and you took an hour of your time to be with us. So thank you so much for that. But
I appreciate you
add
having
her
me.
anything while we have her? Or any closing remarks that you want to add that maybe we didn't get to from your end?
I didn't know if anybody had any questions, but I thoroughly enjoyed this, and I really do appreciate you asking me. I feel very honored to be here, and I really enjoyed meeting all of you.
Yeah, thank you. And just so you guys know, this is going to be something we're going to continue. what I like is that the calls are an intimate size. And so it gives everybody a chance to have, you know, several minutes to talk about themselves, but learn. And I meant to ask this in the beginning of the call, but if you've written down each other's names, if you feel comfortable, maybe connect on LinkedIn. Find
Absolutely.
each other. I'm always available. Our team is always available. And if you're not currently working with us, if you'd like to, we would love to have you as a candidate and see what we can do to help you on your journey. But more importantly, we just want you to feel seen and supported. That is obviously what it's all about. Anyone have anything else before we jump off? And I will get you guys the recording as promised, because if you want to take this and clip it and use it towards like that unconventional outreach that we were kind of talking about, here's a built-in video for you, right?
Yeah.
Veronica, you came off mute. Did you have something?
Oh, no, I just wanted to tell you thank you. I really enjoyed this. And it's great to get to meet more people in the industry. And it was great content.
Awesome. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
I
Thank
appreciate everybody. Well, have a good upcoming weekend. And thank you for creating some timeless takeaways, because these are some really good nuggets that I think our goal at MSB is to build a library of these types of things that we can kind of direct candidates and even companies to calls like this, so they can really be like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And hear it
Absolutely.
from others. Thanks for your patience in the beginning with my Zoom technology. Hopefully we'll get that. But if you know anyone in your network that's looking, we're going to have another call next week. Keep an eye on my LinkedIn and MSB's LinkedIn if you're not following us, because we'll be posting the schedule there with other guests just like Debbie Rae.
Yay. Excellent.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
have a
you.
fabulous day. So nice meeting you.
Bye.
Bye.
Take care.
Thank you.